Of Kingdom Kids Online. It is great to see you. I hope you're doing really well. Thanks for those that joined the Zoom calls this week. It was great to see your faces, and I hope you had some fun with me and the other kids from Kingdom Kids. And if you want to join in for the future ones, just send me an email and I'll happily send you the links so that we can all meet together and learn and have some fun. So if you remember from last week, we learned about how Esther became the queen. She was just a young Jewish girl who was picked out of hundreds to become the queen of Persia. And if you remember, she was raised by her cousin, a man named Mordecai, and Mordecai was a good man. And between Mordecai and Esther, they managed to save the king's life. But that was only the beginning, because Esther was in her position for an amazing reason. And this week we're going to find out what Esther did to save her people. So last week it was the king's life that was in trouble, and this week it's Mordecai and all of Esther's people's lives in trouble. And Esther had to be brave enough to make a difficult choice. But before we get into the story properly, let's play a game of Would You Rather. So these are going to be some crazy statements and you need to pick between one or the other. And you have to pick. There's no both or neither. If you had to do one or the other, which one would you do? Okay, so the first. Would you rather eat a bowl of spaghetti that was one long noodle or eat ice cream that was launched from a catapult? Okay, here's the next one. Would you rather be able to read minds, or would you rather be able to see one day into the future? Read minds or the future? Okay, the next one is, would you rather be able to make plants grow really quickly, or would you rather be able to make it rain whenever you want it to? Plants or rain? Alright, next. Would you rather go camping, or would you rather stay in a hotel? That should be an easy one, I don't know. If you like camping, prefer a nice warm bed. Okay, next. Would you rather be the fastest swimmer or the third fastest runner in the whole world? Fastest swimmer in the world or the third fastest runner in the world? Is that a difficult choice? Okay, next one. Would you rather get new shoes or a new jacket? Would you rather go to a zoo or to the beach? All right, next one is, would you rather have £100 now or £1,000 next year? £100 right now or £1,000 next year? Okay. Would you rather be too hot or too cold? And last one, would you rather want to talk to animals or have the ability to fly? Talk to animals or be able to fly? Now these are just silly choices. Some of these things will never happen. But Esther actually had to make a real difficult choice. So let's read the story and find out what Esther did and what she had to choose. So our story today starts with another character, and if this was a fairy tale, this character would be the villain. His name was Haman, and he was a bad guy. But the king loved Haman, and he gave Haman pretty much whatever he wanted. Now, one of the things that Haman loved above anything else was that people bowed down to him because he was so amazing. But Mordecai would not do that. Mordecai refused to bow down to him. So Haman got very angry with Mordecai, found out that he was Hebrew, and then vowed to kill all of Mordecai's people. So all of the Hebrews had to die just because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to Haman. Now you have to remember that Haman and the king were like best buddies, and anything that Haman said to the king he would pretty much agree with. So as soon as Haman told the king that there were these people not bowing down and obeying the king's laws, the king agreed that they should die. So with just one conversation, Haman made a law pass that all the Hebrews should die. So Mordecai hears about this new law, and the first thing he does is goes and tells Esther. Now Esther, if you remember, was Jewish or Hebrew, but nobody knew that. Mordecai had told her to keep it secret. So Mordecai asked Esther to do something. He asked her to go and see the king and change his mind. Now that doesn't seem like a really big deal, does it? Just go and talk to your husband and get him to change his mind about a big law about killing people. But in those days, nobody could go and see the king without the king's invitation to come and see him. In fact, if you went to go and see the king without the invitation, you could be killed. You were breaking the law. So Esther had this big choice to make. She could either choose to go and see the king and risk her own life without an invitation, or she could try and save all of her people. What would you do? Would you risk your life for people that you've never met? Imagine all of the Christians in London. Would you risk your life to save them? So Esther made this difficult decision, and she chose to go and risk her life to see the king. So she put on her beautiful royal clothes and she went to see him. Now the king thankfully showed favour on Esther and allowed her to come and talk to him. And Esther asked the king if he and Haman would come to a special banquet that she would prepare for them. So the king was very happy about this and agreed, and as did Haman. Now at the banquet, the king asked Esther, what does she want? Up to half his kingdom he was willing to give her. But Esther just said, can you come to another special banquet, you and Haman? Now the king was very happy and agreed, and Haman was ecstatic. He was thrilled because his life seemed to be going so well. He was in the king's favour, he was in the queen's favour, and his plan to kill Mordecai and all of the Hebrew people was in place and going well. But Esther had a plan. So the day of the second banquet arrives, and Esther and the king and Haman are probably sitting around this beautiful table with amazing food. And the king asks Esther again, what is it that you want? And this time, Esther says, if it pleases the king, please save my life and the life of my people, because we have been sold out for destruction and death. Now the king is understandably surprised and shocked by this, because how can a law have been passed that would have killed his queen? And he says, who was it that has made this plan? And Esther simply says, it was Haman. Now you have to remember, up to this point, the king and Haman didn't know that Esther was Jewish. So the law that would have been passed to kill all of the Jewish people would have applied to her as well. So the king is furious. And in the place of all the Jewish people in his kingdom, Haman dies instead. He saved the day. And the king goes even a little bit further than that, and he makes a law pass that protects the Jewish people in his kingdom for as long as he reigns. So one act of bravery and courage saved an entire people. Esther had to do something that she was probably terrified of. She had to go and risk her life to save people that she didn't know, but knew that it was the right thing to do. So what can we learn from this? How can we be brave and courageous even when it scares us? Well, there's lots of ways that we can do this. And it can be simply going to talk to somebody that maybe we wouldn't usually talk to. Maybe it's doing something that scares us just a little bit, but we know it's the right thing to do. Maybe it's standing up for somebody who's being bullied. Maybe it's helping somebody when we're a bit scared of what they might say. All these things are great ways to show bravery and doing the right thing, even when it's scary, just like Esther did. But do you know the amazing thing is that when we are brave and courageous, we know we don't have to do it by ourselves because God is always with us. And our memory verse this week tells us exactly that. And I hope you spend the time memorizing it because it's great to have when times are tough. And it comes from the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? So that verse one more time. Psalm 27 verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? This verse means that God is always going to be with us and always watching out for us when we step out into those things that make us scared and need that courage and that bravery. So I hope you spend the time memorizing it. And if you do, once again, make a video, send it to me, and I will send you a prize to show that you've done it. So what is it that we need to remember from the book of Esther? Well, Esther was brave and courageous in the face of things that scared her, but she trusted in God and did what was right, and we can do the same. But God used Esther at that place and at that time, and he uses us just the same, wherever we're at, with the friends that we have and the family that we have and the people that we meet and talk to. He wants us to show his love to everyone that we meet. And so just like Esther, let's be brave and courageous with our faith and let's share God's love with the people around us. So I'm just going to pray now that that is something that we try and do more this week. So let's just spend a minute and pray to God. Father God, thank you that Esther is such an amazing example of what it is to be brave and courageous for you. And I pray this week especially that we can do those things that maybe make us a little bit scared, but we know are the right things to do and the things that will show your love to the people around us. Thank you for everything that you teach us and how you love us. In your name I pray. Amen. Well, thanks again for joining me this week. I hope you've had some fun and you've learned something new. I also hope you understand why Esther is one of my favourite books of the Bible now. Don't forget to do some of the activities in the description box below. Got some great ones this week to help you remember the story. And if you want to get in contact, you can do that through the Facebook group or send me an email. And also send me an email if you're interested in joining our Zoom calls in the coming weeks as we meet together live. I will see you again next time. Bye!